Hi, welcome along to Barbecue Life UK. My name's Tom and this is my barbecue shack. In today's video we're going to show you how to build a shack without breaking the bank. So before we get on to things like materials, first of all, the first thing you've got to do when it comes to building your shack is plan. That's why I've put this video out this time of year, because if you haven't got a shack, I ain't going to recommend building it during the winter. You're going to get cold and wet. So use this time to plan, and then in the spring is when you want to build. So you've got to look at what equipment you've got. You've got to look at what work surface space you want, things whether you want a fridge, what sort of lighting you want, whether you want it to be open fronted or whether just like a pergola, like a roof on legs. There are so many things that you need to take into consideration. So we're going to go through them bit by bit, and then I'm going to tell you how I built this without costing a fortune. So the first thing you need to consider is size and shape. Obviously, with that, it's going to depend on what equipment you've got and how much space you've got available in your garden. After that, you need to decide on whether you want it to be open fronted or whether you want it to be able to close up, so you keep everything inside super safe. Now, I used to have an open fronted shack. I've got a picture on the screen for you now. Now, with the open fronted shack, all the weather got in, all the leaves blew in because we've got a lot of trees around the back. So when we went into lockdown this year, I decided that I wanted to update the shack and make sure that it closes up. So I'm going to show you what it does. So obviously this is my door coming in and out. And then these struts come out. This half closes, and then the same with this half, so that is completely sealed. I've got an air gap at the top so that it doesn't get mouldy in there. So we've got an air gap at the top so it doesn't get mouldy in there. It just allows a little bit of airflow. So once you've decided on whether you want things sort of open fronted or closed fronted, you've then got to think about your space inside. Make sure you've got enough room for your grills. So I've got the Aldi Kamado one side, and then the other side I have a Weber Master Touch. And then after that you've got to think about workspace. So do you want these freestanding or do you want them cut in? So if I come in here, I cut these in around the worktop. Same with the Kamado, they're all cut in. I've made sure that I've got space at the back so that the lids can both open on both sides, and then I've got about 4 foot of worktop both sides. I've got this side for the Kamado and then this side for the Master Touch. And yes, there is a burn on there from where I've had the chimney starter out and I've dropped a little bit of charcoal, but we're going to cover wood and barbecue shacks in a little while. So your next things to think about are electrical appliances. So I've got a fridge in my shack, so I need to make sure that I've got permanent electric out here. Not that I run it all the time anyway, but you need to make sure you've got electric out there to run that, and same for your lights. And then obviously planning your space for that. Then you're going to need to think about storage for things. So next to my fridge I've got my log pile. I've also got some on a shelf here. Above that shelf I've got all my rubs, and then things like firelighters in the back of here and thermometers. Then I've got my wall with all of my sort of tongs and spatulas and equipment, so everything is there, easy to grab. I haven't got to go rooting through stuff to find anything. And then I sort of spin around this side, and underneath this worktop I've got a large shelf, so I've got a rotisserie in there that I've only just picked up. I'm looking forward to having a bash with that. And then cast iron, koloshes, travel barbecue box, some smoking chips, and then I've also got bits on the floor. So I've got a fan, because in a barbecue shelter, shack, whatever you want to call it, it does get hot. So in the summer I had the fan blowing well. I've got a little travel barbecue down there as well. And then the other thing to consider is, do you want running water, or are you happy with a washing up bowl that you can just fill up with hot water, and then once you've been dealing with your raw meat you can just wash your hands straight in there. Or if you've got the space and it's close enough to your house and you want to put running water in, then give it a bash. I wish that I'd got running water in here, but it's just not feasible. I think the key to having a barbecue shack is making sure that you use every single piece of space available. So on the wall behind the kamado worktop, I've got all my accessories for the kamado. So I've got a spare grill, and then I use this as like a drip pan, or I'll put roasties in here if I've got a joint above it. And then I've got all my other grills and deflectors when the motorbike's gone, and deflectors, and the expandable grill, if I can get my words out. That's all over there, so everything that I need for the kamado is on that side. And then accessory wise for the Weber, I've got the sear grate up on the wall, and then the plan is once I get some more to have it all sort of around this sort of area. So something that I did do to both the Weber and the Aldi kamado was I built them up off of the floor. Now I'm just over 6 foot, and I find that your standard barbecue height is a bit low and it gives me a bad back. If I'm standing there grilling, then I tend to get a bit of a sore lower back. So I've built them up probably just under a foot, and this makes it a much more comfortable working height for myself. So if you are tall, I would suggest building them up off the floor. So now we move outside and we actually look at the construction itself. So 90% of the shack is built out of stripped pallet slats. So they just run along. I've got a little join there because they wasn't quite long enough. So pallet slats haven't cost me a penny. All they've cost is time. Get them stripped off, get the nails stripped out, and then it's a nice weathered look. So from the inside, they're all stained on the inside as well. So it looks really nice. Nice rustic look all the way around. So that hasn't cost a penny. Floor, I use decking. A lot of people say don't use decking as your floor because it's flammable. So I have had a couple of charcoal drops. I've got one sort of down here. As soon as it hits the floor, I stamp it out. I make sure I've always got footwear on because I've dropped coals on my feet before when cooking. So I've learnt from that. So I just stamp it out. I've never had a fire. So providing you are sensible, you are not going to have any issues. Worktops, these are reclaimed. These were used in the house that when we did a bit of a refit, they came out here. But check things like Facebook and eBay. Look for people that have got skips outside of the houses. Keep an eye on what's going in there. You can use anything. You don't have to spend a fortune. All of my stud work didn't cost anything. It's all reclaimed. The only thing that I've spent money on this shack is creosote to stain it, screws to build it, and felt for the roof. If I just lift you up, hopefully you can see that because I can't see the camera. So felt for the roof, creosote and screws. Everything else has been completely free. So just be savvy, plan, and plan again. And don't be frightened that if you have got it wrong, change it afterwards. As I say, I had an open fronted shack for about 18 months and it's only been this year that I've decided to close it down. And when I close it down, I completely revamped it, and everything that I've done this year hasn't cost a penny. It was only the original build for the roof and things that cost me money. So I hope this has helped you out with your planning of things, and I hope that it's inspired you to build your own. And thank you very much for watching.